Hi everyone, welcome back. So we have already looked up into getting the how to deal with get requests and how to deal with post requests. What else? Now we need to look into put request, delete request, and then in the next tutorial maybe look into patch because patch is something a bit tricky. I'll put a short comment here that let me just comment out. So updating a resource can be done either via full update or partial update, which we doing full update in this tutorial, but in the next one because partial update is little more involved, I thought let's just first look into the full update, and then once we're done with that, let's look at the partial update, which is done via HTTP patch. All right, so we will be adding to the same home listing controller. So anything afterwards, I want to add to the child controller because it's more involved, and I want to show this case. If you guys recall earlier, I mentioned for each kind of action method, I want to create a different DTO. If it's in post, I created a create DTO. This one was the default vanilla version was for get, and likewise now I'm um, updating a resource. So for that, I need to add a new DTO, and the reasons for this I mentioned earlier, and um, the structure and the validations for this is going to be exactly same, but I still prefer to add. All right, I think by now you all should be pretty much comfortable with this. Let's let me just add the attribute put, and obviously we need an ID, right? So let's just call it home listings ID. We need an ID against which we want to update the home listings, right? And then update home listing. We need suburb ID. We need home listing ID, but then we also need this would come from the body. And like I think I forgot to mention that because the update DTO is coming from body, you can add a attribute mentioning that home body, but by default it's coming from body anyway, so I just ignore it. I will explain why I'm using just the normal action result, but I'll come to that in a minute. All right. So I think we have done it like a couple of times. So if we don't have suburb, then obviously we can't update anything. So I'd say just the good thing with there's lots of API design is once you note the pattern, you can see that the same pattern just follows. And I think it's good to just do it a couple of times. All right, let's see if we have that home listing. If we do, let me just maybe hide it. All right, if we do have the home listing, obviously we need to update. But if what if we don't have, then that means we can't update it, right? So in that instance, again, I will send not found. And once that's done now, I mean, it should be pretty easy. Since we're using the in-memory data store, I would just get, and so this one, if it's not null, this means we have an existing one in the data store and we just need to update its properties, right? So obviously ID we don't need to change because that's going to be the same. And once we have done the update, we just send back no content. We're not sending body back. That's why I'm using the action controller. I'm not using the generic one. Generic one. All right, let us our API. So if I run the app, let me call the API. So for home listing, I'm getting for suburb 2, I'm getting these two. Let's try to update the ID3. If I just get this one and then I copy the body and put it in the request, but then I want to put, and then obviously the ID is passed from the URI, not from the body. And then let's just say uh, asking price is like they're giving for free. Let's just say that if I send this put request, now that asking price should be updated to 0. Let's just get it back to see whether that effect has taken place. And yep, so the API is working. All right, let's add the final delete one. Then it should be almost identical. I would copy this action method and then right, very similar. I'll just close the app. And then this is very similar. Obviously, I don't need to create a different DTO for delete because I don't need any body for that. I just need IDs, right, to delete. And then instead of just change the method, let's just change it. it's delete home listing, and then let's also just change to delete. That's fine. Most of the code is all good. I still need to get suburb, I still need to get home listing, and then once I've got those two, all I need to do is I can grab the suburb, traverse to the home listing, and then just remove the current home listing. And once that's done, I'm returning no content. Very similar. Let's just run this to see if it's working. Let's just see. I'm getting this response. Let's try to delete this resource, right? If I, it's 204 no content, and let's see if I shouldn't be able to get this now because we just deleted it. And as you can see, this is 404. Like it's the issue from the client side because we are sending a we're sending a request and the resource doesn't exist. But if I do it like this, so now the third home listing is gone for the suburb 2, right? So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I haven't covered the patch because that was a bit more complicated and involved in this, and I'll cover that in the next tutorial. See you. Thank you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.